Hi there and welcome to Tom's Warhammer Minis. Today we're back focusing on the brand new and very magnificent Grand Cafe, leading the Jade Warriors, defending the Great Walls of the mighty Gate Masters who are ready to dictate and enact the will of the powerful magistrates. In this video though, I'll be focusing on the Gate Master on horseback, with the one on foot to come at a later date. But like the rest of my Grand Cafe tutorials, it has been primed in White Scar. We are only using Citadel paints and the contrast painting method. Should you have wanted the orange version that we see on the box art, I would have gone down the Gryph-hound orange route, but pure red for me felt far more natural and vibrant. So if you're ready, grab your paints, grab your brushes, and let's get hobbying. So planning the horse, I realised I wanted mine to contrast against the overall bold, rich and darker colour schemes. So my choice is a white horse. Now the model primed in White Scar, I've done an overall base coat of the horse and the hair with Soulblight Grey shade paint, but we'll need the hair to fully dry before darkening it. Now once that hair is completely dry, and this is the tail hair as well as the hoof hair, I've shaded them entirely with Nuln Oil. For the actual hooves themselves, paint them with Black Legion. With the Soulblight Grey dry, I've painted a small amount of Reikland Fleshshade on the nose to create a more natural animal look. We also have an open mouth with teeth and its gums and tongue. A simple coat of skeleton horde and volupus pink will bring them to life. Now normally I'd apply highlights at the end, but we have a unique opportunity here. Our main highlight is going to be White Scar, and as the rest of the model is already primed in this colour, we can dry brush the hair without catching or spoiling any other details. I've also dry brushed the single hoof too. Now while we could dry brush the flesh as well, I've highlighted it by hand so it's more precise and more prominent. I've also used White Scar to relayer the eyes. Then I dotted them with Lothern blue followed by a smaller dot of Abaddon black. For the mouth I've highlighted the teeth with Pallid Witch flesh and the tongue with Fulgrim pink. With our horse complete, it's time to focus on all of the black details, and this includes the cape, the belt, the leather straps, as well as the boots. For references, I would absolutely refer to the box art image on the Games Workshop website. But for these details, I've used Black Legion contrast paint. And once it was completely dry, I've shaded it with Nuln Oil, and this acts as a two-part multi-purpose, in that it darkens and makes the black more richer, and to prevent any chipping on our contrast paints, it does act as a subtle varnish too. With our black details now fully base coated, it's time to move on to the brown details. Now for the horse, we're looking at the leather, the harness, and I've painted these in Sigil brown, again referring to the box art images on the website just to help guide you. For the shield, I've painted it in Wildwood, and this includes both the inside as well as the outside of the shield. For both details, I've shaded them in Reikland Fleshshade. It's now time to focus on the red details. Now on the box art image, there is orange too, and if you were to do this, you'd be wanting to go down the Gryph-hound orange route. However, for me, I wanted it to be purely red, to have that sort of rich, noble look. So I've opted for a very dark red. Flesh Terror's red is perfect for this, and once it's dry, I've shaded it further with Nuln Oil. With the red details all base coated, it's time to move on to the next set of colours, and that's the sash, the tassels, as well as the rope around the waist. I've chosen a contrasting colour to go against the red so it will stand out neatly, rather than going with the orange. It's a simple jade colour scheme that will match the rest of the armour, and it's a 2-to-1 mix of Eldari Emerald and Lamia Medium. Once it's completely dry, I've shaded it with Corellia Green shade. For the handle of the sword, I wanted it to be slightly different, so I've opted for Sigvald Burgundy. Next up, I've used Darko Flesh. This is the perfect skin tone for the citizens of Grand Cafe. For this miniature, we're just painting it onto the head, as well as the hands, both holding the sword and the shield. I also want my general to have a more aged appearance, rather than having rich black hair, but not too old where it's pure grey, and Basilicanum Grey is the perfect paint for this. And next up is our metallic details. Here I've used Retributor armour and Iron Hand steel. Now I've slightly altered mine for instance, like the horse's dragon helmet, is a mixture of gold and silver on the web art, but here I just preferred pure gold. Respectively, I shaded the silvers with Nuln Oil and the golds with Reikland Fleshshade. The only subtle difference is, for the flat silver panels along the horse's spine, I haven't shaded them with Nuln Oil. Instead, I've just used the Reikland Fleshshade, as that provides a good bit of recessed shading, but it keeps the silver bright and shiny. With our model now battle ready, I've also taken the opportunity to do the base. On this base I've used a Grellin Badland, but I find this texture paint sometimes a bit tricky to stick down. So I've prepped the surface by using Ardcoat gloss varnish first, letting it dry, and then applying the texture paint. Next up, it's time to focus on all of our red details. My colour of choice here has been Fire Dragon Bright, and this includes dry brushing the hair as well as traditional edge highlighting around all these surfaces. Once it was done, I've painted Angron Red Clear over the entire red details. This is an airbrush paint. It does take longer to dry and needs to fully dry or it can smudge the details. It also ends up rather glossy, so if it's too shiny for you, a matte varnish like Storm Shield will help tone it down. While we're waiting for all these colours to dry, I've also shaded the base with Targor Rage Shade. It's now time to focus on all of the black details. Grey colours such as Dawnstone are a traditional choice here. However, using colour theory and contrast, we can make our highlights stand out even more. As a lot of our models' details have a warm, vibrant red look, I've opted for a cold blue highlight instead, and the perfect colour for this is Thunderhawk Blue. Now personally, I find boots can be tricky to highlight, and these in particular lack edges. So I've opted for a glossy finish that will give it a highlight of natural shining light. I've used Death Shroud Clear, an air paint that is similar to a very glossy Nuln Oil. As air paints take time to dry, I've taken advantage of highlighting the skin with Flayed One Flesh, as well as painting the eyes with a dot of White Scar followed by a smaller dot of Abaddon Black. For our Cygor Brown details, I've used Deathclaw Brown as the highlight. After that, I've used Ghost Blaster Green to highlight all of our Eldari Emerald colouring. We're on to our last remaining details, and first up it's Pink Horror. I've used this just to highlight the weapon handle. Next, with the gold located where it is, I've been able to do a dry brush of Liberator Gold. The silver, however, is much easier and neater to be done in a traditional method, and for this I've used Stormhost Silver. And finally, there's the base itself, and I've dry brushed this with Pallid Witch Flesh. With the model done, all that's left to do is the base. And there we have it, my Gatemaster and horse is complete, and the base really helps to showcase the beautiful landscape of Grand Cathay. But at least that's what I imagine anyway. You know, it's just a really great model. I love that you can have the banner. Instead, you can have the head swap, but I really like the armoured horse. And if you've ever batch painted cavalry, you can just feel really tedious. I mean, essentially, like here, I've painted 2 models in one, so it's double the time. But this design just feels really great. And again, colour-wise, it just looks awesome in so many different colour schemes. I'm glad I've ditched the orange, though. It just doesn't really work for me. But these colours really do help to make it pop. But anyways, I hope they do provide inspiration. And now, if you've liked this video, and if it does help in any way, then please help this channel to grow, even if it's just by a simple like, because that would really mean a lot. But until the next time though, happy hobbying.